Morning, peeps. We're here on the south coast. With me is Hugo. He rides an Africa Twin and also part of our adventure ride group for Hondas. And also Greg over here with his, you can see Honda everything on his shirt and his beautiful hairstyle.
Yes.
Greg is the sales manager at Honda Wingham Schlanger. And I thought, well, while we're waiting for our brekkie, let's have a little talk about our bikes. And but I know some people think, oh, they're going to talk about Honda and they're going to like Honda because they ride Honda and I'm sponsored by Honda, blah blah, fish paste. No, we're actually going to talk about what we don't like about our bikes. Now we're not going to cram the brand. We're not going to cram other brands either. No. So, Greg, what do you? Well, let's start with the dealer. Let's put the guy on the spot and see what he doesn't like about. You came down with the NC750, one of my very favorite bikes, and I feel it's also very understated because I've been on those bikes up and down Joburg, and it's in my book. It's unique in its class.
Correct.
But what do you? Here's the brekkie.
Yeah.
Say hello to
Annie.
Annie brings our breakfast. So what do you not like about your NC, for instance? Let's talk about the bikes we are on.
You know, in fairness, I have to nitpick about it for the simple reason that overall, if you look at the motorcycle, it will tick.
What's your name?
Audrey.
Audrey, say hello for the camera.
You're famous.
Smile, you're on candid camera.
Okay, look, it's a bit of a tough one for the simple reason that the NC ticks all of the boxes. Fuel economy is good. That luggage and space idea is brilliant. One of my little gripes that I do have about it is the tires.
Yeah, but that's not a Honda thing. That's what Honda puts on the tire in the factory there.
That is true, but
What do you have on now?
well, I've got the Dunlops on.
Oh.
Well, you asked what you don't like about your bike.
Of course, yes. Dunlops. We used to, back in the day, you used to put a little thing out about Dunlops. You know what that was?
Dunflops.
Dunlop here, Dunlop there.
That's it. Dunlop da, Dunlop yeah. Never looks where you want to, but recently I can't say that again because...
I think the technology has got better now.
Absolutely.
And the compounds and so on. But one of the things which I have found, but I would say maybe a little bit biased. Oh, thank you, love. Sorry, guys. I had gastro the last couple of days, so I'm not going to try and hit a brekkie down. I'm just going to go for some good old-fashioned toast.
Scratch that.
Just with a little
Hein
bit.
did not have gastro, you could see.
It's a C cup, man.
And the only thing which I have found a little bit, if you do try and push the motorcycle a little bit hard, you don't get the best of feeling from the tire back. And therefore you start to question and query, is it the suspension, maybe the front is a bit too soft or something of that nature. So you get these little things running through your head. But again, in hindsight, it's one of the small little niggles. If you have a choice of tires that you would prefer, maybe a Michelin, more road bias for argument's sake, that would resolve the problem. The other small little niggle that I have, I feel that the screen could have been a little bit higher.
Yeah, especially this morning's ride.
Correct.
We got off, just to explain the route quickly. The route we left, Amanzam, Texas, met up at Umkubaba's Shellwater
Correct,
City.
yeah.
And then we got off at Scottsboro, took the R102 Coastal Road through Park Rainier, Pennington, over the freeway, and continued on the R102 into Heberdean. We're here at Nzamai River Lodge having a brekkie. So
Fantastic flows.
So the route kind of was forgiving because we had a lot of tree coverage and so on. I think we were on the freeway, that piece of freeway from the south of the city to the off-ramp.
I battled.
You battled, because and I knew you were battling in the back there.
And remember as well, I had a road helmet as well.
He checked his neck. It looks like Mike Tyson. It's got a thigh as a neck.
I feel that if they maybe built that screen maybe a couple of inches taller, it would cover a lot more people. For a shorter person than myself, it would be great. But I regard myself as average height. I'm, I think 182 or something like that.
Okay.
So we more or less, the average. We're not Andre the Giant at 6'6" or something crazy like that. So I do feel that would be one of the cleverer things to actually say, well, one of the better things to address on the motorcycle itself.
And what about the suspension? Front. We spoke about the suspension this morning. It's still got the standard shocks.
It has, but they've gone over to shower now. So when I look at the predecessors, they were, I'd hate to use the term, but we'll understand it best as soft and a little bit spongy.
But do you think if they take the suspension and put it upside down, that will help with kind of road holding?
I would say yes, but then having said that, they can't just have simple inverted forks. They would need ones where you are able to adjust, let's say, compression and rebound.
Yeah, otherwise it's exercise.
Then it's just it's pointless. I've seen actually some of those Chinese bikes with inverted forks, which makes no difference. So I would say that would be a positive move in the right direction.
But I also get you do get the stock standard screen is totally it definitely needs some adjustment because the bike is not a bike just purely for commuting. There are quite a few folks out there that take this bike on a distance because it can. I took it to Joburg back and I thought, Harry Smith, I'm going to be sorry I took the bike, and I got Harry Smith and I was pleasantly surprised. So you do get, I think, screens like GV.
I think if I remember correctly, War Eagle as well makes those big screens as well.
I don't think if you put those aftermarket spoilers, I think you've got a spoiler on your screen here. And
that little
that's a
deflector.
little spoiler that might make a difference.
The deflector.
Yeah, the deflector. Look, I would say from the simple aerodynamics, it should have a positive effect on the motorcycle for the obvious reason. The other thing as well, what would I say? It's just a very good overall bike. It's not the most fastest.
But you ride the bike for what it is, man. I mean, you can't go and ride this thing like you can if you can.
Yeah,
but
sure.
you wouldn't expect that kind of performance out of a bike. And if you do happen to go and scratch, like you said you did, it will satisfy.
It will tick that box. Yeah. It will. Yeah. And then in the same breath as well, if the wife says, "Hey, go get bread and milk at the tea room," that little luggage compartment of space is brilliant. I mean, that was just over the top of thinking. And as well with that fuel tank sitting underneath the seat, you can feel the bike.
Gravity.
You can feel the bike is neutral.
More. So it makes it light on top.
So. Talking about the faults of them, they are out there, but we really have to sit and nitpick. And yes, I work for Honda, but those are minuscule.
Really?
Those are real minuscule problems. And I think that bike is almost a glove that can fit anybody's hand. Some hands are slightly a bit bigger and some hands might be a bit smaller.
Okay, before we go into the sales talk here, which Greg will happily give you at the end of next year. So you can see there's very little that one can dislike about the bike.
Really
and I'm not here to actually pick and take the bike apart and point things out that's like petty, Well, there are one or two items that we feel that the manufacturers could probably look at. And I think in hindsight, they kind of, what would it cost to add a few inches to the screen, for instance? A small little thing like that, small, because we at the coast, we deal with wind, hectic wind, and up country, maybe less wind, but in the Free State, more freaking insects.
Yeah.
So anyway,
when you rode your NC, what did you find that you felt wrong?
For a big guy like me, I felt that the distance between the seat itself and the foot pegs was a little short.
Okay.
So I ended up getting a few cramps, but my doctor kept on telling me that it's because you're overweight, Hein. so I stopped going to that doctor. Anyway, so I felt I was getting a few cramps in my legs here because of the seat position. I'm not at that age anymore where I can swing my legs over a sport bike and go ride for a couple of 100 kilometers and feel comfortable when I get off it. So, and that was about it. I really love the bike up and down. It's versatile. It maneuvers like hell. it's really a very, very forgiving bike. And I think if you get on the bike and you get off it, it's like, I've been riding this bike for more than a year, but you actually just got it. You know, it's a really forgiving, satisfying bike. Okay, off the NC, on to the next one. Okay, so we finished our breakfast because if we keep on talking, anyway. So Greg shared his opinion with us on the NC750 that he came down with. Not came down, like the crash came down from freaking Durban to the south coast. Goodness, I should get my terminology right. Huh? Road down there. Anyway, so now on to Hugo. He rides Africa Twin, and what do you not like about your bike? Now this is difficult questions, people. So please.
Besides being 2018, it's the oldest model. And I think we were just discussing now the throttle on the Africa Twin, the old Africa Twin, and especially in off-road technical like Sani, it is the throttle is a killer. So you don't have the option of setting the power band. You have to drive and sport mode, but if you turn the ear, it's there, and it's something to get used to.
Of course, that issue has been resolved now with the new 1100. You can set your power delivery and traction control levels, everything, which we'll cover on a later stage. That'll take a while.
Sure, I mean even the 2018, the big tank that came out 2019 model, they sort that out. The other thing is, especially on the adventure helmet, is the buffeting, and there is something that they actually put in to prevent the airflow over your forks that comes up.
Okay, through that compartment.
Yeah. So I've just put a bag there for now, and it does sort it out to a certain degree.
Even now, you asked me earlier if that bag that I got from Howard, that's a handlebar bag, if that blocks it. And I specifically looked for that now when we were coming down on the freeway before we hit the urban road. And where the cluster is, obviously that blocks the wind, but on the side where the shocks are coming up, it still comes up. I can actually feel it here, but not to an extent where, so that bag doesn't block it. Okay. It's still enough space past the bag. It comes up. And I can feel it at the bottom here. But it didn't affect nothing at all. I had no bucketing whatsoever. And I had my screen on a standard setting, not even a higher setting. I think if you go higher in this wind, you will get bucketing.
Yeah.
So the bag didn't make a difference.
I can actually, as you ride the bike without anything there, and you ride and you put your hand there, you can actually immediately feel the difference. So I know it's that, but how to solve it, I'm not. I know there's something in Europe that fits there, so perhaps we can investigate and see if we can put it in, bring it in, and put it off.
Yeah. Keep a look out on the comments on this video, because what he's talking about is blocking that compartment, that area that comes up behind the cluster, behind the handlebar and the cluster, coming up on the shocks, that hits the wind on his helmet, and he causes some buffeting because the wind comes up to his face and then hits the helmet visor from the bottom, and causes a bit of.
But yeah, it's a bit irritating, especially at 170.
Scratch that.
I know. Besides that, there's nothing. I love my bike.
Right. Okay. All right. Then on my side, I just recently got my new Africa Twin from Honda SA, and I can only name two things that I don't like about this bike. Three.
I have one.
Keep that to yourself. But I see maybe your one is one of the three. Number one for me is the fact that I couldn't change my tires that I have on the previous one onto this one, the Dunlop Mission Trail Max. There wasn't enough time for me to get those tires swapped out and put them back on the bike. So I really loved the Dunlop Mission Trail Max. That's where Dunlop made a big leap for mankind to develop those tires. I'm on the, what is it called now? Mechler Karoo Street.
Okay.
They're quite fine for dirt because we did that sort of dirt road close to Thornville, blah blah blah, and it's fine. Just drop the pressure, you know. So that's something. Tires make a big difference. You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, of course.
And then I've got a GB plate on my bike, and I'm down in KZN. So you might get more attention from the cops. So let's whack this sucker before he leaves the border.
Yes.
You know? So don't draw attention. And then the other one is the pipe. The pipe is quiet, man. I can't remember what pipe I had on my previous one, but it was a louder pipe. And it wasn't annoying at freeway speeds. I thought it would be. It would annoy the air out of my ears. But it didn't. So when I got onto this one, it was actually so quiet that it's annoying. I need that room, especially to wake my neighbors in the morning.
Yes.
When they've been partying the Friday night and they're sleeping in the next morning,
Yes.
I want to start my bike up and make some noise. You know?
Yes.
So those are the small little things. I think that even the stock pipe on the previous or two previous models,
Like on mine.
yeah, it's
Sport
actually,
mode is like
yeah,
that.
it's actually sounds better than mine. It's got a bit of bark to it or whatever.
No, the drive mode is quiet.
Yeah, it's just
Quiet, Sunday morning quiet.
yeah.
Sport mode, you could hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I should write more on sport then, eh? What do you say? I want to try sport now when I go back. And so those are the only items on my bike. Otherwise, on an Africa Twin, what's there not to like?
Well, there's
Lift it.
one thing which I did find on our demo model, but now I'm used to it, and it's actually not a problem. It's more of a niggle, but I'll just mention it. Your instrument cluster on your left-hand side
Yeah,
at night time.
doesn't light up.
Yes.
Yeah, I
That's
saw that in the rain when I came back from Joburg.
that's the first couple of days. Okay, the buttons are anatomically designed, so your thumb knows after a while, but
Yeah, but they moved the indicator button. They moved the indicator button. So now when I wanted to indicate the first few times after I stole my Africa Twin the first time from Honda Boxbook to the first stop sign, because I think I was still sitting on the freaking DCT. So I stole the bony, and then when I wanted to indicate, I pushed the hooter, and the guy on the side thought, what the hell's wrong with this guy? You know? So I had to, and Rian warned me about the button, and a screw was bought.
Yeah.
The first time I indicated, I pushed the hooter. So you have to kind of get your feel to
yes,
it. You know?
look, you've got to get a feeling to it. But now, I mean, if I'm riding on the machine now, I can be looking at the road ahead, and I can feel through my glove exactly where my hand is. And if, let's say, I want to go and have a look at, let's say, what my average fuel consumption is, I know how to go on the mode. But for the first, let's call it 3-4 weeks, and especially at night time, I didn't want to look because obviously I'm not watching the road.
No.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes I was at this frustrating point where, like, for instance, like what you rightly said about the indicators, I couldn't do it because it was at night time, and I don't know, that guy obviously is going to say, I didn't see you, and then obviously not having an indicator just adds more fuel to his fire.
So I think the solution to that would be is when you get on a bike that you're not familiar with as far as controls are concerned, and I'll give you one now, is to go find a quiet spot somewhere in a parking lot and go try these things out. You know, go try where you have no interference from other traffic or running control conditions, just to get familiar with the controls on the bike, so you don't have to look at them to use them.
Correct.
And the same thing you would do when you carry a passenger for the first time.
Yeah.
So go to a parking spot, put the passenger in the back, and do a few fast stops and turns.
Yeah.
Get the passenger comfortable, and you also get comfortable with the extra weight in the back.
100%.
So what I was talking about controls years ago, I tested quite a few bikes for bike tour, and I got on the Triumph Bonneville. Now, these Triumph people don't put keys where normal bikes would put them. I'm not on all the Triumphs, just this particular one. And I got on the bike, and usually what I do is I don't let the dealer or the salesperson talk me through that. I want to figure these things out myself, you know, to get more in-depth knowledge about it. So I started to kit up and whatever, helmet, where's the key? I don't see a freaking ignition. And I don't want to say to the dealer, oh, where the really switch the bike on? That'll look stupid. So I was looking, and I got on the bike, and I just kept make sure the mirrors, and I'm still looking. I'm adjusting the mirrors, but I'm checking where the indicator, the ignition is. And then it struck me, you're on a Bonneville. Whoop, seat, switch on.
Yeah.
Just below your butt. Goodness gracious. Ooh, the freaking ignition, the front, you know. Anyway, so, yeah. Okay, folks, that's it from anything else you want to add?
No, that's it.
What do I like about my bike?
What do you like about your bike?
It's got a CRF registration on it.
It does.
It does.
Sorry,
You just had to rub that in now.
Yeah.
Now, even worse off my GB plate. Damn it.
Well, I got an ND number plate.
You can keep it.
I knew the odd one out.
Okay, I'm going to take mine off.
Nothing wrong with that.
Hey, you put a CRF plate on it. I didn't even notice.
No, I saw that. I was quite impressed. I was quite impressed.
I love it. I was so proud the day that I put that on.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, fantastic. Hey guys, you can clearly see we love our bikes. Not just because I'm sponsored by Honda SA and because he's selling them and because
I'm driving.
because he's a CRF plate on the back of a CRF. It's just the bikes. The bikes are
They're good.
they've good. It's an understatement. It's freaking fantastic.
Well, I was going to use the F-bomb, but unfortunately we can't.
Freaking fantastic, chap.
Shut the front door.
Anyway, that's enough from us. I'm going to suck on this orange juice a little bit more. I think this is going to go into a doggy bag because I can't fit that in my stomach. I'm not sure why I ordered that. I was just looked nice on the picture.
I'm going to try one potato.
And then some chicken there. I'm going to put that back in there again because it's got chili sauce. Anyway, and you don't want to eat chili stuff while you've got your face in a helmet because the first speed bump you make a burp and you can't breathe inside your helmet. Anyway, you have a lekker one. Thanks for tuning in. We'll do
Cheers,
more of
thank
this.
you, guys.
Thanks, guys.